we'll get started. All right. All right, good morning and welcome everyone to Buyer Mastery and Investor Mastery Part 1. This is one of a two-part series. The next class will be next Thursday. We're shortening the series. I think, am I echoing? All right, is everyone muted? Make sure you're muted, please. Thank you. All right. We're shortening this series so we can get everybody off the ground quicker. This is also being recorded. Today, we're going to talk about engaging buyers and how to convert them and how to get them so you can start showing properties. We're going to talk about the different kinds of buyers and how you approach them differently and how you move them along into escrow quickly. Next week, we're going to get into the moment of truth. Okay, a lot of agents just show property and show property and show property and don't know how to process the showings so that you come to an end result, which is that the client wants to make an offer. So that's where I think most buyers agents really suffer, is they don't know how to do a moment of truth. So we're going to really focus on that dialogue next week. But today we're going to focus on getting them out, getting them in the car. All right, so here we go. Let's kick it off. Whitney, if you'd be so kind and throw all those PDFs into the chat box, that'd be awesome. And we'll get started here. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen in a moment once she puts those in there. All right. Let me know, Whitney, when they're all in there. They're in there. Awesome. Thank you. All right, I'm going to start a screen share here. Here we go, everyone. Okay. I'm going to move my little thing over here so I can show you what I want to show you. All right, so we all know that very soon you all are going to be engaging in lots of open houses. We've got some protocols from CAR now on open houses, and they'll continue to get more and more throughout the summer. So it's going to be the summer of fun. Lots of open house availabilities, and work with your mentors and work with your colleagues to see if there are any open house opportunities for you. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to open up what's called the buyer profiles. You need to know what kind of buyers there are out there. Can everybody see this screen? I want to make sure you can see this. Great. All right. There's a lot of different kinds of buyers out there. You need to know, who are you dealing with? Who are you talking to? The first kind of buyer is a first-time home buyer. I love those guys. First-time home buyers are amazing. A move-up buyer. A move-up buyer is someone who already has a house and they're ready to go to the next house. And they may rent their old house or they may sell their old house. A scale-down buyer is someone who typically is an empty nester and they've got a very large home and they're ready to scale down because their children are now gone. A buy and hold investor. We got a first-time buy and hold investor. This is somebody who's going to buy a property to rent it out. Now, a first time would be a sample of, let's say you've sold a lovely couple a home, or they already own a home, and now they're ready to build their first income property. So they really don't have experience in it. So you really have to help and guide them. Okay, that's a first time buy and hold investor. And I have a buy and hold worksheet in the Google Drive. It's an Excel spreadsheet, but I put the PDF here. Buy and hold investor experienced knows pretty much where their price points are because they've already done their numbers. Those are the people you really have to earn their business, and you really need to know what you're talking about when you're dealing with an experienced buy and hold. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a minute. A fix and flip investor. You've got a first timer and an experienced in here too, and you really got to be careful with the first time fix and flipper, right? Fix and flipping is a very difficult thing to do if you've never done it before. If you've been doing it over and over, you have your formula, just like the buy and hold investor. So it's very important with fix and flip that if you're dealing with someone who's never done it before, you definitely want to have those conversations about the expenses and the carrying costs involved in a fix and flip. Having done many, many fix and flips in my life, you have to really know what you're talking about. So if you're not comfortable with that, engage another agent who does it all the time to help you, okay? Vacation rental buyer, relocation buyer, inbound and outbound. That means they've been relocated for work and they're coming in from a different area, or they're relocating out and they need to sell their home. Any questions on all these different kinds of people? A lot of them, okay? So now I'm going to show you the next file. All right. So let me also show you, I'm gonna pull over here. Open house sign-in sheet. For those of you who haven't been doing open houses yet, or haven't had the opportunity to do an open house, I have a really cool sample open house sign-in sheet. If you are holding an open house for another agent, a mega agent, they will give you their own. But this one is a really nice open house sign-in sheet because it's got the basic information. And rather than saying, are you working with an agent, it says, if you are working with an agent, name of agent. People are more likely to answer honestly when you ask the question like that. Okay, so this is an open house sign-in sheet. All right, next up is the basic items needed for an approval. I can't tell you how many people I talked to in my career who have been in this business for 15 years and don't know what the basic items are. So you do need to know this stuff. So if you're working with a buyer and you want to get them pre-approved with your lender or one of our lenders, they have to have the following items, and you can help them, get organized to get all the stuff together, right? You need the tax returns for 2019 and 2020. If it's a stated income loan, they're going to need the tax returns, of course, and bank statements for the last 12 months, last 4 pay stubs, last 3 months of their checking and banking accounts, copy of their latest quarterly IRA, 401k, mutual fund, pension fund, copy of driver's license for each party, the name of their employer, what their job title is, phone number for somebody at the employment that can verify them, and if they're collecting a pension or Social Security, the copy of the annual award letter, and if they're getting the down payment from a friend, family member, they need a gift letter, and a copy of the bank account where the down payment resides. Where's the down payment? This is it. These 9 things are what you need. They don't all apply to everybody, all right? But this is super, super important that they have this stuff organized and ready to go. And the better you are at getting them in this spot, the better you're going to be at getting them pre-approved. So make sure they know what they need. You can hand them the list. It'll help them to work with the lender and gather their data. All right. Next thing I want to show all of you is the buy and hold spreadsheet. These are just the things I threw in the chat box. When you're dealing with somebody who's going to buy a house and hold on to it. This is, by the way, an Excel spreadsheet in the Google Drive, and you can keep it handy. It's really useful. So if someone's going to buy a property, let's say a single family home, I just put a fake address in here on Dickens. And this is basically what you have to do. What the monthly gross rent would be for that house. You have to give them an estimate. What their PITI is, right? Their mortgage and their interest, their taxes, their insurance, their water bill, their electric bill, gas and trash. And in this particular sample, it's a single family. So the landlord's not paying it, but in an apartment building, they will pay for the water and probably the trash. The maintenance for gardener, maintenance for pest control, laundry room, pool, spa. These are the items that would help that person know whether this is an appropriate deal for them. Okay, and you put the list price there, or you put a purchase price that you want to offer. And remember, guys, when it comes to investing, you don't necessarily have to cash flow to make it a good investment, right? For any of you who do own investment property, it does. This one's losing, to this particular scenario is losing $298 a month, this house, okay? So this house I can rent for $3,700, but my total costs are $39.98. So I'm gonna lose $298 a month on this house. That doesn't mean this house is not a good deal. It has nothing to do with that. You have to look at the appreciation curve on a home, right? So even though it loses $300 a month or $3,000 a year, $3,600, you still write that off on your taxes as a capital loss, and it doesn't hurt your income. But I want you to be aware that when you're looking at investment properties, it's a little bit of an art and science conversation. So be aware of that. But that thing will really help you when you're analyzing a property. All right. Next, buyer weekly emails. And again, this is going to be for somebody you're trying to get into a relationship. Everything in your life should be templatized. You need a template for everything. So if you're using the auto saves on the MLS, make sure those auto saves are coming to you so that then you can send a lovely little email like this with the auto save with your signature over to the client rather than them just getting the auto emails. You can have them get them, but you need to be very clear about being engaged with those clients each and every week. Auto emails work really good when you've got a client that you've been showing for a long time and they're loyal to you already. But when you're just starting to work with them, unless you have more than 100 buyers, you really want to make sure there's a personalization to your email. So that's a little template. There's another template for a client you meet, and this is going to be very common now that open houses are back. This is a template that somebody might have been coming in on a house that you were holding open or an ad you did. This is really important. A lot of people will come through an open house now that we're doing open houses again. And even though we're limiting the capacities in the open houses, people are going to walk in that you don't know what they want because you're engaging another client during the time. And somebody walks out the door, they sign in, this person, David, you have no idea what he's looking for. You have an email, you have a phone number, but you don't even know what he wants. So this is a generic email that you just keep pinging them every week to see what they're looking for. Where are they looking? What kind of property do they want? There's no such thing as spamming them because you don't know who they are. So you're just going to send them this email on a regular basis until they finally reply to you with what their criteria is. Now, I've run through these forms really, really quickly. I'm going to stop for one moment and I'm going to stop my screen share. All right. And let's go ahead and unmute yourself with any questions on what I've just shown you. Anybody have a question? Okay, great. So go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question. Just because when I hear, weekly hitting up someone you don't know, but that did come to an open house, I mean, is there a fine line of how often you do it without bugging someone? I get that you got to hustle. I mean, I get it. I'm just curious of that. Do you ever get responses like, just leave me alone? Or like,
you'll get responses sometimes like, take me off your list, or I already bought something, or, we're looking here. There's going to be all kind, or silence. Silence is fine. Silence means they're going to keep your email on file, right? They're not ready to engage yet, but they'll keep your email on file. Anybody who's been in this business a really long time, Mark, knows that there's no such thing as spamming a buyer. Now,
gotcha.
A referral is different, right? Friend, family member, somebody referred to you by a past client or friend. Of course, you're going to deal with that in a different way. But a total unknown that comes in off the internet, or that comes in, for example, you do an ad on an open house you're holding this weekend. You do a social media post on command. You get like 25 people responding on the social media post. You have no idea where they're looking. Your ad might be for a house in Studio City, but who knows? They could be looking in Pacoima, right? So you have to realize that when it comes to strangers, there's no such thing as spamming them. They will tell you, trust me, they will tell you if they want to be off the list or they want to have you stop. You'll be shocked at how few times they tell you to stop.
Nice.
Maybe 2 out of 100, maybe. Yeah. So once you engage in multiple, when you're starting to do big business, you're going to have a lot of buyers, especially with where the season is going now. You're going to pick up 5, 6 buyers a week. Of those, maybe only one of them, you know what they want. Okay. So you're not going to go ahead and waste all those fabulous leads. Remember, every name is worth $3,000. So you're not going to waste those leads. You want to stay engaged until they connect. And here's what happens. They go in your command. They get your monthly information. They get your holiday emails, right? And I'm telling you, for people that have done it for years, you will get an email from a buyer who walked into an open house in July. You'll get an email from them next April saying, we're ready now. And they're responding to one of your emails. It could be a just listed, a just sold, open this weekend, beautiful home in Sherman Oaks. It could be happy Memorial Day. They will respond eventually. So I don't believe in taking them off because they're getting your emails. They'll unsubscribe from the auto stuff if they want to. So don't worry about that. Command has the unsubscribe feature on the smart plans. So you don't have to be concerned about that. Don't ever give up on somebody unless they give up on you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's keep going. All right, so let's get started. So the key here is, depending on where you got them, you have to start with engagement. You have to start with conversion. And a lot of people do a really poor job of converting a buyer. Number one, because they don't know the questions and they don't know their script. They don't know the order. They should be asking questions. They sound like they're disjointed. Scripting is everything, right? We've talked about this in every single class. You've got to memorize your questions in the way you would talk, right? I give you the, there's a conversion script here. I hope it's here. Yeah, it's called Sample Open House Buyers Conversion Script. I'm going to just share the screen real quick one more time for that. Sorry about that. I didn't share that one originally. This right here. I presented this to you guys, I think in the first quarter when we were talking about advanced prospecting and marketing. This is not just for open houses, guys. This is for any event. The same questions apply. This is a conversion script that's extremely powerful. And the people that use this literally convert clients very quickly, okay? So please use that open house conversion script. It's not just for open houses. All right, back to my face here. All right, so let's continue. So let's think of a scenario. Does someone want to throw me a scenario where you can meet a possible buyer? Anybody? Give me a scenario. You can unmute yourself and give me a scenario. You want to start with the open house? We'll start with that. You want to start with something else?
At the gym.
A party? Go ahead, Paul.
At the gym.
At the gym. I love that. Awesome. Is this person working out next to you on a treadmill?
Yes, but socially distanced.
Okay, awesome, great. And so you guys are sitting there working out and you might just say hello, right? Hey, good morning, how are you, right?
Right.
And you're getting off the treadmill. Hey, how you doing? My name is Paul, right? And
Yes.
Nice to meet you, right? Do you come here every day, right? What are we doing? We want to build rapport first. So I'm not going to be telling them I'm a realtor just yet, right? So
Right.
You just talk about them, right? Now, you could just get into conversation. That's all it takes. You don't need to just meet people. So you're talking to this guy and you say, hey, I live here in Sermon Oaks. I go to this gym every day. Wonderful. And you engage a little bit in them. Find out a little bit. Do they come every day? Do they come in the morning? You may not be able to go right for the kill because you're not in an environment in which they've raised their hand, right? So all you can do is find out about them, right? And then maybe you see them again the next day or 3 days later. How you doing? Great. And then what do you do then? If you feel like there's a connection, you go get a cup of coffee, right? And start communicating and get to know them. You'll find out where they live, if they're married, if they're single, if they have kids. All of that is just no different than if you're at a party with someone. Unfortunately, when you're at the gym, you have very limited time. So you're going to be able to have to just get some very quick information about them, engage, say hello, introduce yourself, start to become friendly and build rapport. If they don't want to talk to you, trust me, they'll just back off and they'll walk away. But if they do engage, you want to make sure you have a repetitive engagement to build their trust before you connect what you do, right? How do you do that? Well, when you're asking someone about their life, you always say, hey, do you work around here, right? Yeah, I'm an office manager for such and such. So that's great. That's wonderful. Yeah, I actually work right over here too. I'm a real estate professional and I work with Keller Williams Realty. Oh, really? You do? You sell real estate? Yeah, absolutely. I help people build wealth. And so you use your elevator tag, right? And the tag has to be exciting, right? I help people buy and sell assets. I help people build wealth. That you don't say I sell homes, right? You give an elevator tag to what you do and say, do you guys own a home already? Oh, yeah, we've been there for years and years. So that's great. Good for you. I'm sure you've got some great equity on that house. Remember we said question, they respond, positive comment. Remember the whole thing? Question, they respond, positive comment. To keep them engaged, you got to give a positive comment on every answer they give you, right? And so if you think you're never going to see them again, well, then of course you would go in for that. If you ever need anything, give me a call, I'll give you my card. If you know you're going to see them again, then you go for a longer term build. Okay. Now that's similar, Paul, to a party, right? We're actually going to maybe start going to events again, right? So when you're going to a party, it's a lot easier because you've got a captive room, right? Or a captive patio or a captive pool area. And parties are the easiest ways, whether it's a wedding, a bar mitzvah, you know, an engagement, whatever the party is, birthday party. Parties are really, really easy to walk away with at least one buyer every single party because there are several people there. And so how do you open the dialogue? Hi, my name is Veronica. Hey, what's your name? Oh, great, Paul, nice to meet you. How do you know John, whoever the host is of the party, right? Oh, we work together over, oh, you work at such and such, right? So now we're getting into that whole engagement. Ask him a question, he answers, positive comment. So remember, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams, forward, right? So you just ask them where they live, you know, their families around the area. Great. Get deep. You got to go deep in order to build trust. Once you go deep, then now they feel like they know you a little bit. They're eventually going to ask you what you do. Oh, well, I'm a real estate professional, you know. I work with Keller Williams Realty, the largest office. Brag a little bit on yourself, right? And yep, I help people buy and sell real estate assets and build wealth. Really? And I just bragged on myself for that one little second. But now I've caught him with my little elevator tag. And they're going to say something like, oh, well, that's great. Wonderful. Sometimes they might even say, hey, we've been thinking about buying a house. Do you do anything in Long Beach? Yeah, of course I do Long Beach. That's how it goes. But it's not always that simple. If you don't know anybody at the party, remember, you don't want to hang out with people you know. You want to go find the people you don't know at any given party, any given event. The key here is to be the local advisor of choice, right? That's how they're going to respect you. And so you talk about what's going on. So what would be what would be an inappropriate thing to say if you're trying to build trust? If you're at a party, you're talking about real estate. Anybody want to give me an example of a really inappropriate thing to say? What would a swap meet realtor say? Hey, the market's real hot right now. That's not a very appropriate thing to say. Why? Because you've got a mixture of buyers and sellers in the room, right? So that wouldn't be an appropriate thing to say. Don't use words like that. Don't use hot market. Don't use words like that. Use fiduciary words, right? You know, the real estate market is very strong right now. People want to invest in a real asset that appreciates over time. Don't I sound a little different? Right? So don't sound like a swap meet realtor, right? Sound like a fiduciary and know your numbers and know your area. But when you start talking about real estate, everybody wants to hear about real estate. Everybody at the party wants to talk about it because everyone has a real estate dream, whether it's to buy a home for the first time, whether it's to invest in something, whether it's to liquidate and then, you know, create a new asset base. You've got to remember you're talking to a wide audience, so you better be speaking about it in positive terms for both sellers and buyers. You got to be really careful because you can really turn someone off by talking about it from one perspective only, right? Right now, we are still in a slight seller's market. We'll normalize that out probably by the end of the year. Will we be in a buyer's market next year? Probably not. We'll probably be in a normal market. But the point is that you don't want to be talking about the shifts of that because real estate is always a great investment depending on the circumstance and what you're buying for. So it's very important that you guys stay very focused on being a pro, talking about numbers and what's going on and what things are appreciating at, right? Even in a bad market, things are going to appreciate at 5% a year. Yeah, when you buy a real estate asset, it's a wonderful thing. If you already own a home, you should think about an investment property, right? Because your mortgage pays down that loan, your equity rises, and it appreciates 5% a year. That's a really good return on investment. Didn't I have a nice professional conversation with you just now? Don't talk like a swap meet realtor. Talk about the investment strategy of real estate, whether it's owner occupied, which is a no-brainer, or whether it's buy and hold, right? So if you're dealing with that, you want to talk about that. And remember, when you lead with the buy side, the sellers come out of the woodwork as well. The sellers already know it's a hot market. You don't need to tell them that, right? But when you come from the buy side, you're engaging potential sellers that are in the room because that seller is going to do something when they sell their asset, right? Unless they're selling in distress and they have to rent. So it's very important that if you lead with the buy side, you get a lot more listings, right? So it's incumbent upon you to speak appropriately, to speak like a fiduciary and a professional, and don't speak like a swap meet realtor. Any questions before I move on? All right, let's go to the next scenario. How about grocery stores? How about car washes, right? You can meet people everywhere. It's about being friendly, approachable, trustworthy, and just getting to know a person. Asking questions is how you get to know somebody. People like to talk about themselves. So ask questions and then give positive comments to their answers. And within 2 minutes, You build trust with someone. Then you tell them what you do, right? That little brag, just a little bit, that little elevator brag, right? I'm a real estate professional, I work with Keller Williams Realty. I help people buy and sell assets, and I help them build wealth through real estate, right? That's your professional tag. And that will turn anybody's attention. Anybody's attention. Well, really, you know, my mom might be wanting to sell her house. Great, well, that's wonderful. I'd love to chat with her. I'll give you my card. And then, of course, always get their information. And then, of course, after the event is over, the next day or the same day, you send them an email telling them how wonderful it was to meet them at John's party and wanted to have the contact info, love to get together for coffee, right? That's how you build rapport one person at a time. So in the social farming aspect of buyers, it is really simple. You just have to have your prospecting hat on all the time. All the time. And you've got to always be ready to have the fiduciary conversation. If you're really good at this, you're always going to be the center of attention in a party because everyone's going to gather around you and want to hear what's going on. But if you are lazy, and I use that word loosely, if you are lazy and you're not memorizing your MLS, you don't have very much to offer anyone. You don't know where the pockets are that are great buys right now. You don't know about the school systems. You have to learn your area, and you can't just learn one city. It's not enough to know just one city. You need at least 50 square miles, okay? 30, 40, 50 square miles to really understand. You don't have to be an expert in all 50 square miles, but you've got to have enough of a reach, right? So if we're going out, you want to get yourself at least to the tip of Orange County, right? At least to the end of the San Gabriel Valley, at least to the Ventura line, you know, and of course the west side and up, and northern to through Santa Clarita. So you've got to have some overall general understanding because you're going to sell everywhere. You're going to go where the money is, you're going to sell everywhere. And as you sell everywhere, you're going to get really good about understanding areas. And so by previewing properties, you're going to learn a lot. If you're new to the business, you should be going out and looking at all the new properties that come on the market. You know, even if you don't have a client, you can tell the agent you're previewing for a client, right? You still have to send them a PED, but you got to get out there and see the inventory so you can start to memorize all the blocks and where certain pockets are and what's selling in each pocket and memorize the closings and the pendings. It's super important. Start with like 10 zip codes and then expand yourself out. So knowledge is the key. The realtor who has the most knowledge, the most confidence, able to convey to the client in a way they understand is going to get all that business. All right. So now let me translate to getting somebody who might be interested. Paul, did I answer your question? I think I did in a roundabout way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. So those guys at the party take longer. Those guys at the gym take longer, right? They take longer to nurture. They're just not going to happen overnight because they didn't raise their hand to buy a property. You've got to build the relationship over time. I think in all the years I've taught this class, I tell so many stories. I don't remember half the ones I tell. But when I was a brand new licensee at Coldwell Banker many, many years ago, I was shopping. The babies were really small, my twins, and I was at Ralph's on a Saturday in Burbank, and I was driving with my cart, and I had sweats, and my hair was up, and I didn't look very good. Probably not a good thing for a realtor to do. I was already selling quite a bit of real estate, but I was new. And I was going through Ralph's, and there was this beautiful woman standing at the entrance of Ralph's inside the store, and she was with a company called Primerica. You know, Primerica does like, you know, investments. And lovely lady in a suit passing out brochures about 529 plans for kids. Okay, so I got two babies that were just born. She's passing out brochures. I take a brochure. Being a great salesperson, she followed up with me, right? She comes to my house, meets with me and my husband, sells us a couple of 529s for the twins, right? College plans. And while we're talking at my kitchen table, I'm doing the same thing on her, right? And, you know, we start talking. I thought, yeah, I'm with Coldwell Banker. I'm a broker associate right over here. And she said, oh my goodness, I used to be with Coldwell Banker many years ago. She's playing it on me, right? She's doing rapport building with me. And I said, oh, isn't that wonderful? And she says to me, hey, my husband and I are looking for a commercial building in Sherman Oaks. Can you help us find a lease? Sure. So I work with them. So we were both pros with our little engagement, and we were selling each other. So I signed the 529 accounts. She gives me her criteria, and I start looking for a commercial property in Sherman Oaks. Lo and behold, we couldn't find anything. This went on for like 6 months. But she's my lead. Do you think she's getting emails from me? Absolutely. Do you think I'm forgetting about her? Absolutely not. So relationship goes on. 6 months later, she says, hey, we think we're going to buy our house. We're renting a beautiful Tudor in South Pass, but I think we're going to buy it. Oh, that's great. Let me know when you're ready. And so she calls me back and says, oh, you know what? We're just going to do the deal directly with the seller, the owner. But I said, no problem. Just let me know if you need anything. So she did her own deal. She bought the house from her landlord, and she bought this gorgeous Tudor in South Pass. I stayed with her, emails. I always send her cards. You know, I'm staying engaged, right? We didn't have social media at the time, obviously, but I'm not forgetting about her. She's getting stuff from me. My just listed, my just sold. She's getting my stuff. And then about 6 months after that, she calls me, hey, our business is expanding. We got to move out of this Tudor. We got to buy a bigger house, way bigger house. They were doing very well, her and her husband. I said, great. So I go on a journey with them, and guess what? 2 months later, we win a multiple offer on a $3 million in the Arroyo, and I sell their house for $1 million. Okay? These were big houses 20 years ago. Okay, boom. I did $4 million in volume in 1 month from a relationship that began a year and a half ago on a lease that I couldn't get for somebody that I met at Ralph's. The reason I use that story is because so many people just throw the buyer leads away. They throw them away. And you have to realize that every lead has a dollar attached to it. You've got to stay in relationship. Don't delete them from your database. Make sure they're getting your monthly emails. Make sure they are getting your holiday emails. Buyers don't need postcards in today's world, but make sure that they get stuff from you every single month. And that person wasn't an active buyer. They wanted a lease. But because I treated them like a long-term client, they came back. And I can tell you 20 or 30 stories that are very similar to that in my career. You've got to make sure you're engaging with everybody because you don't know where the next buyer is going to come from. All right? Okay, now I'm going to digress and go into the next part of our conversation. All right, how about somebody that actually really is going to buy right now? They're an active buyer. They walk into an open house. They respond to one of your ads. You find them and they're actually active and want to buy. How does this dialogue go? All right, so somebody want to play this role play with me? Who would like to do it? Who wants to be a buyer that walks into an open? Would somebody be willing to role play with me?
I'll be a buyer.
Oh, great. Thank you, my dear. Thanks, Julie. All right, so you walk in to the open house, and this is not an open house class, so I'm not going to go into the 1 hour open house training, but you've been going through the property. I've given you the flyer. You've toured the home, and now you're getting ready to kind of mosey your way out of the door. You got to catch them before they get to the front door, right? And strategically position yourself. All right, and then you say whatever opening line you want to say. There's 3 or 4 various opening lines for open house exit. And you say, well, great. Do you have any questions about the house? Remember, I don't know your name, Julie. You signed in on the registry, but I don't know you. Do you have any questions about the house?
Yeah, it's not exactly what I'm looking for, but yeah. So thank you.
Are you looking in this neighborhood?
I am actually, but I haven't seen anything I like.
Okay, I understand. Where do you live right now?
Sherman Oaks.
Oh, in Sherman Oaks. Okay. Let's pretend this house is in Studio City, okay? This house is in Studio City. Okay,
Sure.
great. We live in Sherman Oaks. So what has you guys making a move?
I would say in the next 3 months.
And why are you guys moving?
Oh, I need bigger space because my kids are home right now, so it's a little cramped. And me and my husband, there's too much going on, so we just need a bigger space. Yeah.
I totally understand. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Do you own your home right now, or are you renting?
I'm actually leasing the house that we are living right now. It's
that's
right.
great. And is your lease coming up pretty soon?
My lease is over, actually. It's a month-to-month lease.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Well, that's great. Well, did you decide on what price you want to stay under yet?
I would say 1.2 since it's Studio City.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what, we have 1 or 2 properties right now that are on the market. We also have a lot of townhomes and condos. Would you consider that? But I assume since you want more space, you probably just want a single family home.
I would prefer a single family home.
Okay, all right. Now, she gave me 1.2 in Studio City. I'm going off script right now. She gave me 1.2 in Studio City, right? Yeah, I don't have anything right now, right? In Studio City for 1.2, right? So you have to make sure you know your inventory, right? So I would say something like, you know, I might be able to get something in Valley Glen or Valley Village, but, you know, certainly we can work on that price point. Have you guys picked a lender that you love to work with?
I have been pre-qualified.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, well, great. Now remember, when I'm asking her, have you picked a lender and you have a price, where I'm going to go to next is she told me her price, she told me the city, and now I have to figure out how much inventory I've got in that city. That's the hook. Remember, that's the hook. So if she had said 1.6, I could have said, oh, I think we have 3 homes right now available in that price point if you want to see them this week.
Right.
Right, so I would go right in for the kill and try to set an appointment if she gave me a price point where I knew I have inventory, right? But if she gave me a price point that I don't, I have to be a little more gingerly about how I answer her, right? So Julie, Julie, what are good days for you to go see properties during the week?
Usually, I would say Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays because I have to train the kids at home. So there's a lot going on. So my time is very limited right now.
Got it. Totally understand. Well, if you'd like, I'll send you those properties that are on the market that are in that price range. I'll shoot you an email today. Take a look at the homes. Let me know which ones you want to see, and we can set something up for this week.
Sounds great.
Wonderful. And let me make sure I have all your information. Did you sign into my sign-in sheet over here?
I did. All my information are here.
Great. And just verify your email address so I can make sure I send it to the right place, and then you make them tell you the email. Because a lot of times they scribble, guys, in the sheet, and you can't read it, right? So I will say, Julie, what's a good email where I can send those to? And then she'll give me her email, right? Great. And what's a good cell phone? I'll text you when I send it.
Right.
And make them send it, give it to me right there, because if you guys rely on the sign-in sheet, you're going to have a really hard time reading or writing, okay? So, great, Julie. So I'll send those over to you tonight. Just give me a call or let me know which ones you want to see.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Veronica.
Wonderful. Have a great day.
You as well. Thank you.
Off she goes. So I was in complete command of the conversation, but I'm letting her lead with what she wants. So that script, that open house script, I followed that script. So you have to say, are you looking in this neighborhood? Because they walk into open houses all the time in Sherman Oaks, and they're not even looking in Sherman Oaks. They're looking in Granada Hills because they can't afford Sherman Oaks. So don't make an assumption that they want to go in that neighborhood. So are you looking in this neighborhood is a very important question. It's a great lead-in question. And and the first thing that a lot of agents say, are you working with an agent? And everyone that knows me knows that I never use that sentence. I know everybody does. But I'd say about 70% of the agents use that, 30 don't. I don't worry about whether they're working with an agent. If they're working with an agent, they're going to tell me. They're going to tell me to back off. They're working with John Smith at Century 21. So anybody who's experienced on this call knows that if you're working with an agent, they're going to tell you right away. Okay? So you want to make sure you go through the process. Are you looking in the neighborhood? Great. Where do you live now? Where do you live now is so important. And then you say, what has you looking, in Studio City? Oh, because you need a bigger home. So if they live in Pasadena and they're here in Studio City, I need to understand that, right? Or they live in Santa Clarita and they're in an open house in Encino, I want to understand that. So you say, hey, where do you live now? I live in Valencia. Oh, wow, I love Valencia. It's beautiful out there. What has you looking in Encino? You have to ask that because you're not going to understand motivation. You're not going to understand it. You're not going to understand why are they here, right? You need to understand, are they got a job transfer? They need a bigger house. They love this neighborhood. Their aunt lives here. I don't know. There's a million reasons why they're looking in a city that's not the city they live in. The number of people that are looking for a home in the city they live in is very small, 20%. Okay? So it's very important that you get, where do you live now? Oh, and what has you looking in Long Beach? Or what has you looking in Encino, whatever open house you're sitting. And then when they say, oh, we live in Pasadena. Oh, that's wonderful. Do you rent or do you own the home? You have to ask that, guys. Have to ask it. Because then so many people miss listings. I cannot tell you because they don't know whether the person they're talking to owns a home or not. Okay. Oh, that's great. And remember, they say they own their home. Oh, whereabouts in Pasadena? They tell me a street. Oh, that's a wonderful area. Good for you. Are you going to rent the house out or are you going to sell it? You have to get these conversations going. And if you have confidence that you know what you're talking about, they're going to answer your questions as long as you continue to have a positive comment to every answer. Positive comment brings their guard down, okay? And you don't sound like a clinical technician trying to ask questions on a board. You really got to be natural. It's got to be really natural, okay? And then you just go through the process. Do you have a lender you love to work with? No, we don't, but I'll say don't worry about it. We have lots of great lenders and the rates are good. So you just kind of, you just make it a mental note, don't have a lender, not pre-approved. But they do know their price point, I promise you. Even if they're not pre-approved, most average intelligent people know what price they can afford because they look at what they pay in rent. And they typically will try to stay with the same calculator that comes out to be about the same. So most people do know their price. So you have to ask that question. Otherwise, you're shooting all over the place. So, and you have to ask it. When you say price range, it's very difficult for someone to answer that question. But when you say, what price would you like to stay under, they'll give you one number. They'll say 1 million, 1.5. So ask them what price they'd like to stay under, okay? So do you have a lender you like to work with? What price do you want to stay under? Great, and the minute they give you that answer, you come in for the hook, the carrot. Oh, you know what? We have about 6 homes right now that are available in that price. I'd love to send you that list. Do you want me to send it to you? You've got to be forward about that question. Yeah, we have about 5 homes, I think, right now, right in that price range in Granada Hills. Would you like me to send you the list? Who's going to say no? 1 out of 10 people is going to say no, okay? If they say no, typically they're working with a realtor, and they haven't told you that at that point. But the person that says, no, I don't want you to send me a list, that's somebody that's either not ready to work with a realtor, already has a realtor, or there's some other underlying reason. So you got to do it. So we have like 5 homes right now that are in that range. Would you like me to send you that list of those homes? Sure, go ahead. And great, what's a good email for you? Great, and your name was Mary? Mary, it's a pleasure to meet you, right? Because a lot of times you don't even know their name. You're engaging in these conversations. Some agents will introduce and do the whole formal thing at the beginning. That's great. A lot of you do it on the front end of the open house. There are 2 philosophies. Do it at the front, do it at the back. I'm gonna do it at the back person. You can, whatever works for you. Either at the front when they come in or at the back when they're going out. Doesn't matter, it's gotta work for you, okay? So it's very important that you kind of hook them with, hey, we've got 4 or 5 homes right now that are in that area, that are in that price range. Would you like me to send you that list? Great. What's a good email? Great. Great. What's a good cell phone? Sometimes they won't give you the cell phone. Sometimes they will. I'll text you as soon as I send it. And then you end it with, are there any days that are really good for you to look at properties? Are there days that are better for you to look at properties during the week? And you'll be shocked at how many people have weekdays available. You'll be shocked at how many people work in their own business and they work from home. So they have weekdays available. Do not make the assumption that you're only showing property on Saturday, okay? Of course, if you can do a weekday, it's a lot better and it's a lot quieter, okay? So always find that out. Great, wonderful. Well, thanks so much for coming by, and I'll send that list to you by tomorrow morning at 9 or by tonight. And just give me a call. Let me know which ones you want to see this week. And then have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Off they go. That whole conversion script. How long do you think that whole thing takes? The entire conversion script. Anybody want to guess?
Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
Oh no, try again.
20,
Good guess though. Good
20.
guess and welcome.
30. Hey, how's it going?
2 minutes. That whole conversation is a 2-minute conversation. If you spent 10 minutes with them, you're gonna lose them, right? It's a 2-minute conversation, the entire thing we just did. And if you're really talkative with them, you have to follow their lead, obviously. If they're a slow talker and they want to talk, you've got to have that respect, right? And go with their pace. But on average, 2 to 3 minutes is that entire conversation, okay? Now remember, when you're holding open houses, there's people coming in, so you're trying to convert this person and move on, right? But if you've got a real live wire, of course you want to stay focused, stay on it. The longer you talk, the more rapport you build, but you also have to be very careful. If you're a very talkative person and this person's not so much, you've got to monitor yourself, right? And your disc profile, all right? So this is really, really important. Practice with the mirror, practice with your dog, practice with your spouse, practice with a friend. Let them pretend to be a buyer and let you do the script. The masters all know their scripts, and your script has to sound like you. I give you the basic questions. You have to ask them in a way that sounds like you. All right? Now, I got a question in the chat box from Ann Friel. How would you handle two people, one an investor who wants your attention at the same time? You wrote 2 offers for both, had to juggle. I know, that's really tough. So there's 2 people in an open house and they want to talk to you at the same time. Is that your question? And if you want to unmute yourself, I think that's what your question says there. All right, this happens a lot. So it's not every single event, but I would say if you have an open house, you're going to have one scenario where there's 2 people that need to talk to you. You've got to really manage the way you're speaking. If you're trying to wrap up somebody and you've gotten all the information you needed from that person, you try to gently, effectively wrap them up while that person standing there waiting for you needs information. You never talk to 2 people at the same time. That's just rude and disruptive. So you have to wrap up one and say, I'll be right with you. And then you're going to wrap up one person and be very kind and very nice and say, okay, wonderful. Well, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. So you're recapping what you're going to send them and say, if there's any questions, here's my card, here's the flyer, give me a call. I'll get that over to you today by 3, or I'll get that list over to you by tonight. And then let those people go and then turn your attention. So wrap up quickly and effectively and respectfully to the party you're speaking to, as long as you've got all the information so you can turn your attention. All right? Good. All right. Okay, Miriam, you just got a question from a buyer who wants to see a house that's in probate and you have no idea. All right, I will answer that question. There's 2 kinds of probates, with court confirmation and without court confirmation. You need to read the MLS remarks, the agent remarks. If it says requires court confirmation, that's a very long process. I don't want to go off topic today, but when you're writing an offer, it has multiple offers. All probates do. They usually have 30 or 40 offers on them. And once an offer is accepted, you have to wait 30 days to go to court downtown. And then the people who are in backup position can go and overbid. It's a very long process. Cashier's checks only for 10%, and then you have to close. If it's no court confirmation, it's handled like a regular sale, like a trust. You multiple offers, whoever wins, you open and you do a regular escrow. So you have to look the agent remarks, see if it says with court confirmation or without. With court confirmation, not worth it. Without, certainly worth it. Did I answer your question, Miriam?
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, let's keep going. All right, so I just gave my little hook to these people. So if you're holding an open house, anyone who's been doing open houses for many, many, many years, how many buyer parties do you think you'll get on an open house? Of course, it depends on the price, if it's overpriced or well-priced. How many buyer parties do you think you'll get?
I think at least 30.
Oh, wow, that would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean that you can capture information on.
10.
Yeah, probably 10. 30 will come in. They'll sign into the registry. You'll never be able to talk to 30, right? But you'll probably get 10 where you get good information, right? And it just depends. Sometimes you might only get 2 to 4 because of the nature of the conversation, right? So out of every open house, you will walk away with at least 2 to 4 awesome buyers who are going to work with you. 2 to 4 awesome buyers who are going to work with you. And Ann, you're right. Your number was the closest. Ann Friel, 3 to 5. You've been around for a long time, so you've done a lot of open houses. And I've got another question about short sales foreclosures coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That I have a class on that I taught in February if you want to listen to the YouTube. But short sales are going to be less. Foreclosures will be, NODs will be more. There will be very few short sales because a lot of people have equity, right? Very few. There are still going to be some. They're going to be mostly NODs, distressed, have to sell right away. But they'll still have multiple offers, but hopefully not as much as what we're seeing today. We'll have to see when the inventory comes out. I will not know until I see legislation letting us all know what's happening with the forbearance sunset plan. Okay, we don't have any information on that right now, but I promise you this summer I'll have a class on it once I know what the Fed is going to do. All right, so let's keep going. So out of that open house, you'll get 4 awesome buyers. 4 awesome buyers who actually you engaged with them. You guys liked each other. They liked you. You connected. And you got enough information to be able to make it happen. Then you have a whole bunch of names and emails and phones. Every single one of those goes into your database. Every one. Now, this is where my 2 emails come in. My little emails, one with criteria, one without. The people who you talk to, I recommend you get that open house conversion sheet, that PDF, and you print a bunch of them when you're going to an open house. You always bring a little clipboard with your pen. You have your open house sign-in sheet at an appropriate place. You have at least 10 of those open house conversion sheet forms because you're going to scribble the person's name on that form, okay, where the questions were. After their name, their cell, their email, what they're looking for, what their price point is. You try not to do it while they're standing there, except for the phone and the email. Then after they walk away from you, you fill in the rest of the answers. It's really important. You will end up with at least 4 of those forms filled out. You know where the cities are they want, you know their price, you know enough information to now start engaging with them via email and phone. The rest of the people at the open house, all you have is a scribbled name, a phone number that you're having a hard time reading, and an email that you might be having a hard time reading. For those of you who would like to use the iPad check-in form, there is an iPad program that people can check in on the iPad. It's really nice. Okay, I think it's called, can't think of the name of the app. There's 4 apps right now. They're very nice. So if you bring an iPad and you set it up, they can check in through the iPad, and then at least you can read it all. But for the most part, people still sign in on the old school check-in sheet. So you're going to try to read as best as you can. The rest of those names, they're all going to go in under buyer prospects, all of them, all of them. But the ones that you got the criteria on and you engaged with them, they're going to be part of your Power 20 buyers, right? Because we need 20 top buyers in order to make $250,000 or more, right? 20 top buyers. So you've got 4 guys. Assume they're power buyers until they proved you different, all right? You meet with somebody, you guys clicked, you send them the email. Now here's what happens to most agents. You send the emails out. It was a pleasure meeting you at my open house on Hesby Sunday. Attached, please find 6 listings on the market, 6 listings that meet your price point. What day would you like to go out and see them? Are you available Wednesday? They told you Wednesday they can work. Julie told me she can come in on Wednesday. Are you available Wednesday to see these? You've got to ask for the order. You say, thank you for coming. Attached, please find. Send them the client fulls or the link with the 4, whatever you want. Take a look at these 4 and let me know if you'd like to see these on Wednesday. Because she told me she can see property on Wednesday, right? I'm not going to wait till Saturday because it'll be too late. Now, you do that for the 4 people that you engaged with. You send thank you emails to all the other guys, and you ask them for their criteria. The little email that says unknown criteria. Thanks for coming to my open house on Hesby on Sunday. Please let me know what areas you're looking to purchase in and what price point, and we'll send you a list of all the properties. So you're engaging in 2 different ways. One with the people you were really connected with, your power, and then the rest of the people that signed in. So back to you, Sean. If you had 30 people come in to that open house, and I got 4 of them that were awesome, and I've got 26 of them that were on the sheet, I'm going to send emails to all 30. The 4 with the actual properties, the other guys asking them what area they're looking for, and you'll be happy to help them. Now, what happens after that? Many of you who have struggled with buyers, what happens after that? No answer. They don't respond, right? Sometimes they're busy and they don't respond right away. So it's very important that on the first engagement, you send that email, you text them, and you leave a voicemail. Okay? It was such a pleasure meeting you Sunday. I just sent you an email with 5 properties that I think would be great for you to see. Give me a call. Let me know if you're available. I think you mentioned Wednesday. Let me know if you're available on Wednesday. My number is. It's really important that you also engage voicemail. Voicemail, text, email. Got it? So that you kick it off. You got to kick it off. The people that you didn't know what they were looking for, all you have is an email and a phone. You do the same thing. Hi, thanks for coming to my my open house Sunday. I did get your information. I wanted to make sure I can send you properties that meet your needs. Let me know what cities you're looking for, what price you want to stay under, and I'll be happy to send you the list. You text them the same thing. You can call me back or text back to 818, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll get some replies and you'll get some people that just don't reply. This is where you have to stay married to the process. Married to the process. This is where agents drop the ball. They give up on the buyer. So at what point, those 4 people that I got all that awesome info for, they ghosted me. Second week, I send them another email. Hey, hope you're having a great week. Here's some new properties in Studio City. Give me a call. Let me know if you want to see these this week. They ghost you. Week 3, they ghost you. Week 4, they ghost you. When does that person not become a power anymore? Anybody? At the point you met them at the open house, you've been sending them something every single week, no response. At what point do you want to take them off of the power list?
After the 4th week?
A little bit longer than that, after the 8th week, okay? 2 months, and they come off your power buyer list. They stay with your regular buyers. They're still in command. They're all in there. It's just they're not on your power list after 8 weeks. They fall off, okay? Remember, the criteria for a power buyer is, number 1, they actually respond to you. Even if they say, I'm so sorry, I've been so busy at work, I haven't had time to take a look at your list. That's a response. So number 1, they respond. Criteria number 2 for a power buyer, they can buy the property. They either have a pre-approval or they have the means. And I'll get to that in just a second so we can wrap up. Number 3, if they find the right home, they will write an offer. If they find the right home, they will write an offer. They're not a looky-loo. So you have to be able to at least get response from them. And if they're not responding to you for 2 full months, just keep them in your list. They're still going to get your emails every week, but they're not a power buyer, okay? A power buyer is someone who's actually responding to you. And then, of course, going into the showings. So the key here is that getting into the car is your end result, right? Getting into the car. So this whole email dance is about getting them into the car. That's what we're trying to do. Next week, we're going to go into very deep, showing the property, how you show the property, and how you get them to write an offer, okay? Now, remember, guys, you need to be working tons of these people, right? You've got power 20, and then you might have another 184 buyers that came into your open house. For those of you, again, who do a lot of open houses, a lot of people come through. So you're going to build a giant buyer list, and all of them are going to go on a buyer smart plan. All of them are going to get a once-a-month email, right? Just listed, just sold, open house. All of them are going to get a holiday email. You've got to keep them engaged. But the power buyers are the ones that you're out running around showing the property to. So your goal is to get all those other guys to jump up into the power list. And the power list are people that actually respond to you. They're engaging with you, all right? Now remember, guys, it's pretty easy to identify whether someone can afford a house when you're having that conversation. Oh, do you work at such and such? Oh, you work over at Amgen, or oh, you work at Kaiser. Once you know where they work or what they do for a living, you have a pretty good understanding of their financial picture in terms of purchase. So don't overthink whether or not they can afford something, okay? They will get pre-approved, don't worry. Once in a while, you will find someone who can't afford what they say they can afford, but not too many people are that ignorant where they're going around looking for properties that they can't afford. That's pretty rare. That's pretty rare. People are pretty good at understanding their mortgage calculators and knowing what it is they think they can afford, okay? So I'm going to wrap up today with this. Regardless of where you meet them, at a party, at an open house, at the gym, at the grocery store, at the car wash, some random meeting on the street. You can convert anyone into a buyer. Leading with investments, leading with real estate as an investment, you'll attract sellers as well in those social environments. But if you don't understand where they live, whether they own a home, what do they do for a living? Oh, don't understand all about family and occupation and recreation and what they like to do. And you're not going to know them enough for having any trust. So build the rapport, ask the question, give a positive answer. Ask the question, they answer, give another positive comment. Keep them engaged to get the questions answered and be a pro. Don't be a swap meet realtor. Okay? Next week, we're going to show properties. We're going to talk about exactly how to prep for the showing, exactly how to show, so that by the end of the day, you're either writing an offer or you know what kind of client you're dealing with. Okay? So until next Thursday, I'll see you all then. All right?
Ron, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm
Thank
getting ahead of us. What do you do if you have two buyers that want to put an offer on the same property?
Yeah. Okay. You cannot write on the same property for two buyers. You can write for one buyer on multiple properties. You're not legally allowed to write for two buyers. You'd have to give it to somebody else in the office and give them, share it with them if they get it.
Okay, thank you.
Got it? Or your mentor will do one or whatever. Okay? All right. Sorry about that. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next week.
Thank